The hidden cost of your iPhone, China's labor reality. Apple's $395 billion annual revenue isn't just success, it's a facade. Behind your iPhone, something sinister hides. China's workers and their silent struggles. The world's largest company, holding the Chinese people in its grip. What hides behind the curtain? Let's step into the unknown. Today, we cover a story of pain and despair from the labor force, hidden in the shadows of Apple's biggest supplier, Foxconn. Right in the heart of China, the relentless spirit of these workers paints a vivid image of endurance and sacrifice. Depression and suicide emerge as heartbreaking realities, with the label slaves resonating all too well. Here, pain and tough decisions push the Chinese people towards a revolt against America's business giants. After this video, the shine of your iPhone might seem different, reflecting the hurting hands that crafted it. Ready to hear the truth? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Total Despair. In 2022, as the COVID pandemic continued to grip the world, pushing many to the brink of insanity, economic tensions in countries increased. With thousands of businesses closing and millions of people losing their jobs, industry titans like Apple refused to back down. The new iPhone 14 was in production, and the clock was ticking. However, an incident in the modest facility in Shenzhou, China soon sent shockwaves around the globe. Foxconn, a manufacturing company, is the heart and soul of Apple. With over 1 million workers across China and 200,000 in the heart of Longhua, Shenzhen, they are the unseen force behind your iPhone. Their labor force works tirelessly for just $3 an hour, living in a facility with conditions that are more shocking. Bunk beds so cramped they make even the toughest prison cells seem spacious. Right in iPhone City, where 70% of iPhones are produced, this was their daily reality, producing 500,000 iPhones per day. But when a single COVID case emerged, everything began to shift. A storm was on the horizon. China started quarantining at even the smallest sign of infection. That's when Foxconn started losing control of its factory. Think about it. Thousands of people working non-stop, all hoping for their next paycheck. Apple and Foxconn had a decision to make. Send workers home or keep them working in tight spaces. But when money is our priority, greed overpowers humanity. They try to keep everyone working, even as the pandemic raged around them. Rooms filled with waste, a short supply of essentials, and anxiety became the day-to-day reality. What's worse, many were sent away in their dorms into isolation, their fate uncertain, their screams unheard. Shockingly, they even quarantined healthy individuals with those infected, all in an effort to stabilize the situation. That year, 18 desperate souls tried to end their pain. 14 succeeded. Meanwhile, Foxconn officials intervened just in time to prevent 20 others from making that tragic decision. As supplies ran low, distressing images circulated online, leaving many heartbroken. And the sad truth? They weren't even getting paid. Let me repeat that. 200,000 Foxconn employees were working 60 hours a week and weren't even getting paid for doing their jobs. During the height of the COVID outbreak, thousands of factory workers chose to leave, never looking back. Aware that testing could lead to almost a month in quarantine, prioritizing freedom over money. Their main goal? To be home, away from it all. Caught in a tough situation, Foxconn and Apple were left scrambling. They were desperate for workers to produce their iPhones. They quickly offered recruits more money and bonuses, but still failed to pay them on time. The irony of it all? In the race for technological advancement, basic human decency and morals were left in the dust. But on November 22nd, everything changed, leading to an outburst that the tech giant never saw coming. Chapter 2. Revolt against the system. Every ripple causes waves. In this one, a tsunami across the digital landscape. The world watched in shock as videos streamed in from the heart of the crisis. Recruits, upon seeing the living conditions at the facility and realizing that Foxconn was not paying the promised wages, acted out of desperation. They tore down fences and staged riots. Their faces were marked by two main fears: the relentless threat of COVID and the agonizing thought of feeding their families. Loud cries filled the city streets as people shouted, "Give us our pay!" Surveillance cameras lay smashed on the ground. Windows were shattered in all directions, and the factory's security found themselves outnumbered, confronting the very individuals they were assigned to control. Angry and frustrated workers raised their voices, resisting the security and police officials. Major news outlets worldwide picked up the story, their headlines screaming of the upheaval at iPhone City. Social media platforms, usually flooded with selfies and dance challenges, were now filled with images and clips of Zhengzhou streets. The world could not look away. Celebrities, influencers, and tech moguls took to their platforms, either in defense or condemnation. The hashtags Foxconn Uprising and Justice for Workers were trending globally. Protests sprung up outside Apple stores worldwide, with passionate crowds demanding change, accountability, and transparency. Now it was Foxconn and Apple's turn to address the public. In a critical moment, Foxconn played the age-old corporate card, stating the workers were not paid due to technical errors. And Apple? They followed the classic playbook of giant corporations. Apologies for the mess, and then quickly searched for more workers to fill the void. But Apple isn't alone when it comes to shady dealings far from home. Global brands in tech and fashion have a dark side too, especially when eyes turn to China. Do you recall Nike? In the 1990s, stories of child labor, low pay, and tough work conditions in Asia became big news. Because fast fashion needs quick production, factories with Chinese workers often have unsafe conditions. Workers lived tightly packed in living areas and didn't have childcare options. They also risked contact with harmful things like dust and lead. For many, this looked like today's version of unfair treatment. To others, it was the ugly face of modern slavery. The world wasn't just watching, it was fuming. Nike tried to clean up their act, but some stains just don't wash out. These chilling stories are more than just bad press for brands. They're a wake-up call. Behind the shine of our favorite buys, there might be a story we'd rather not hear. As questions pop up about big companies' choices, the world's money patterns are shifting. Believe it or not, now China has control, flipping the script on who truly guides the global journey. Chapter 3. China holds the gun. China commands 18% of the world's economy. As tensions rise between Russia and Ukraine, alarms get louder. Does Beijing want to team up with Moscow and change the global balance? Big American brands like Apple, Nike, and General Motors have their success tied to this powerhouse. Both countries carry heavy debt, but the U.S. seems to be sinking deeper, its financial future increasingly tied to China's moves. Any hiccup, like the onset of COVID-19, shows the reach of China's influence. With China playing a pivotal role in groups like BRICS, a coalition of emerging economies, the stakes in global dynamics keep climbing. American companies, now more alert than ever, realize every move China makes can shake the global stage. In this tightrope walk, the U.S. finds itself constantly watching, waiting, and looking over their shoulders. Apple backs into a corner. Relying on China feels like a gamble with protests that keep making noise. In their quest for solid ground, they are moving iPhone production and seriously considering the iPad shift as well. What is their goal? By 2025, they aim for 1 in every 4 iPhones to be produced in India. For 2023, their target was a modest 5%, but reports suggest they're on track to achieve 7%. India, however, presents its challenges. Obstacles, unexpected costs, and confusing rules pop up. The company's resolve stands firm, but there's always a price. Behind Apple's shift is a motive that raises eyebrows. Companies of their size often hold sway, overshadowing the smaller voices. There's a growing concern. Is Apple's move to India for mutual benefit or just greed for billions? As the company plots its course, India braces itself, wondering about the real price of this new partnership. As Apple maps its next steps, India stays alert, questioning the true intent behind this collaboration. In this dance of giants and nations, who pays the price? Will companies like Apple, Nike, and many more continue to move their work to places like Vietnam, Japan, and India, pushing workers hard to support the U.S. economy? Or will changes in global power cause trouble, putting the U.S. and its businesses in a tough spot? While these corporate moves are driven by business needs, a larger game is being played in the backdrop. Beyond the boardrooms and factories, national leaders are also at the chessboard. Welcoming giants like Apple can be a boost to a country's economy, but it also connects them in a web of global politics and power plays. Coming years promise a dance of diplomacy, strategy, and unexpected alliances. The U.S. economy deeply depends on the labor of other nations. But with China essentially holding the gun and the BRICS alliance growing stronger, where does that leave the U.S. and its currency? As the balance of power shifts, what's the next chapter for America's financial future? That's a topic for another video. Stay curious and see you soon.